Good morning, dear hearts. We're on lesson 338. Please subscribe. It's an amazing lesson. It is a lesson that is really bringing together many other lessons, as so many of them do, if not all. And it's also one of the main ideas of this course that we have to accept that I am affected only by my thoughts. We had lesson 281 just moments ago, that I can be hurt by nothing but my thoughts. And in the part one of the workbook, there are many, many lessons dealing with the idea of our thoughts. Right off the bat, lesson 4, that these thoughts do not mean anything. Then later it was more personalized, that my thoughts do not mean anything. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. My thoughts are images that I have made. I have no neutral thoughts, really important there. And I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. And the one that I have no neutral thoughts, because what that lesson told us, that an idea that can give rise to a whole universe can certainly not be called either idle or neutral. This is how powerful our thoughts are. We should never underestimate the power of the thoughts that we have roaming around in our head, and then what comes forth because of that. And of course, I must go to lesson 70, which I have referenced so very many times, and I'm sure I will again in the balance of this year we've given to God, because lesson 70 is that my salvation comes from me. But there's this amazing part of paragraph 2 that tells us that it means accepting the idea that my salvation comes from me. It means that nothing outside yourself can save you. Nothing outside yourself can give you peace, but it also means that nothing outside yourself can hurt you or disturb your peace or upset you in any way. So what is it that is not outside of me? It's my thoughts. Within here, the most dangerous place for me to go, within my mind. Where am I going in my mind? Am I going into my ego mind? A relevant thought for central thought for this section of lessons that actually were almost complete, about the ego. And the ego is simply a thought. It's a thought of fear. It is a thought that is limited. It is a thought that is born in a body, and it is a thought that makes us believe that we are not loved. It makes us believe, and I'm using the word makes here. It makes, because the ego makes. The ego does not create. The ego makes us believe that we are not who we are. I am affected only by my thoughts. See, I would get to the lesson today. It needs but this to let salvation come to all the world. This is all that we need for salvation. Remember, lesson 70 was, my salvation comes from me. My salvation comes from me. That is where salvation, and we can change that to my freedom, because we've done that. I've substituted that word for salvation to freedom, because many of the words within the course, there was a comment just the other day about the term atonement. And of course, if I break it down to at one mint, then maybe that is a little less religious feeling. So, but the idea that my salvation comes from me, that's all I need to understand that, to have salvation, freedom come to all the world. For in this single thought is everyone released, there's our freedom, at last, from fear, from the ego. Now has he learned, the child of God has learned, that no one frightens him, nothing can endanger him, he has no enemies, and he is safe from all external things. My sinlessness protects me from all harm. Yesterday's lesson. I am safe from all external things. Oh yes, remember, nothing's outside of me. So there is nothing out there to cause me harm. His thoughts the child of God, his thoughts, the son of God, his thoughts can frighten him. But since these thoughts belong to him alone, he has the power to change them and exchange each fear thought for a happy thought of love, as God would have us do. He crucified himself. It can be but myself I crucify. It isn't anyone else. You are the only game in town. It is always ourself that we crucify. It is always ourself that we punish. Yet God has planned that his beloved child will be released, that we will be released. We will be released from this ego mind and all thoughts of fear and harm that come to us, that crucify us. God has promised us. God has given us salvation. That is the promise that God has made, because it's not actually needed in heaven. But so this is the promise that God has offered us, that indeed we will come home. We are already there. That's a spoiler alert. Salvation is promised to all of God's children. Your plan, the second part of the lesson is in prayer. Your plan is sure, my Father. Only yours, only God's plan for salvation will work, not mine. Only yours. All other plans will fail, and I will have thoughts that will frighten me until I learn that you have given me the only thought that leads me to salvation. You have given me the Holy Spirit. You have given me my elder brother. They also are thoughts. They are thoughts that lead us home. Those are the thoughts of God's beloved child. The only thought that leads me to salvation, that leads me to my freedom. Mine alone, my thoughts alone will fail and lead me nowhere. But the thought you gave me promises to bring me home. The Holy Spirit promises to bring us home, to guide us, to be our companion, who walks with us in every step. And God goes with us in every step. We are surrounded with celestial protection and guardians. We will find our way home. That is assured. But the thought you gave me promises to leave me home, because it holds your promise, the promise of salvation for your son, to your child. It is promised, and so it shall be. And so it is. And so that's all for today. So I hope it helped. I hope it made sense. I hope it felt loving and kind. I hope it felt uplifting. So like, share, and subscribe, comment, smile. This is such good news, and we're coming so close. And because these are only thoughts, they can be changed, and changed quickly and easily. So smile and breathe and pray, and please be here tomorrow. Namaste.